Hey guys, welcome back. It's day 95. Yesterday we had a little bit of a day off, but we are back. We are back, and today we're going to have a look at making our main menu a bit more interesting. Hi Laka Mark, how are you doing today? So, let's have a look at what we are doing and what we get when we press play. Okay, so we've got this, and this is a little bit of an issue, but we're not going to worry about that. Yeah, and by the way, Lackamark, I don't turn on my mic until the hour, so yeah, there's that. Anyway, so what we've done is, or what we're trying to do, is make our what do you call it? Make our menu a bit more interesting, okay? So what we're going to do here is on the left hand side we're going to have the main menu. On the right hand side we're going to have what would be the sub menu, okay? Now if I, for example, hit that, what we want this to be is over on this side, okay? So we have created something to do that with, and that is this sub menu, okay? But the problem is, or it's not a problem, but it's our main issue here, is we have the original menu, okay? And this is based on a widget switcher, okay? Based on a widget switcher. So what we're going to have to do is, you see this new game panel, option panel, blah 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 panel, and this is the widget switcher, right? You can see there, widget switcher. Okay, so when we click on one of these buttons, it indexes the widget switcher, okay, and shows the correct one, right? So we can see from here, if I click on this, we have our new game panel, okay? And our new game panel is basically this thing here, okay? Now probably the easiest way to do this is to test it out with the options panel, okay? So what I'm going to do in this case is we're going to select our submenu widget, dismiss that, and click on this widget, and it's WBP options panel. Okay. And you can see there that this becomes a bit of a problem. The options, okay, so the options one was a bad idea. Okay, because the options one, maybe not a bad idea, but we need to do something different with the options. Okay. Anyway, that shows you basically what we're working with here. So that becomes a little bit of an issue, but we're not going to worry about that. What we're going to do is we're going to get another one working first. Right? So what we need to do is have a look at the other panels. So for example, the load game panel. Right? And what we need to do is turn these into individual widgets so that we can then, when you click on this, you can assign it to our subslot, right? That's the idea here that we're going with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, right? And then I'm basically going to create a widget, and it's going to be w_load game panel. Right, and then we're going to paste that, except we're not. What we're going to do is we're going to remove that, and then we're going to paste it. And that's probably not what we want. So we're going to undo that. Right, we're going to go back to here. I'll tell you what, we'll copy that. Right, and we shall paste that. So that's fine because that gives us a thing. And now if we go into here on our widget sub, we can say load game panel, right? That's weird. Escape that. Interesting. Ah, right, wait a minute. That's because in here, that's the options panel. Right, so this should actually be load game panel. Okay. So that's obviously way out on the left hand side. Yeah, that's what kind of what I'm going for, lack of mark. That's what I'm actually trying to do here. Right. We might need a bit more than that. Yeah, that's what, as I said, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make it more sort of visually appealing. Right, but obviously it's kind of way too big. Right. Right, and that's not awfully good. Right. Now, my kind of idea here, and I don't know if this is going to work or not, right, but what we'll do is in our sub menu, right, we're going to clear it. And in here, we clear that. Right, and we clear that. Okay, so this should show only the main menu part. Right, okay, cool. Now what we want to do now is when we click on anything, right, so well, let's make it the actual thing. Okay, so on our main menu, we're going to dismiss that. And yeah. So this is our main menu widget, right? And it's Groenland main menu. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to say W underscore main menu. Okay. Now we're going to need to try and get this right. So that's good. And on the X, on the Y, we can put it to there. Okay, so that's cool. We're going to get a lot of errors for a while. We're just, as I said, like a mark, we're just trying to make a good start on this, right? So on our main menu, right, it's going to do all this crap. But what we are really interested in is the load game button. Right? Now, the interesting thing here is we probably need a variable here. And we're going to say BP menu, right? And it's going to be BP this. As I said, we're going to get lots and lots of funky errors for a while. Okay, we don't want to do that. Now, we could do this manually as well, but we'll see if this works. Get owner parent, might actually get parent. Now the interesting thing is what this is going to be. Let's get parent widget, so that's not it. Okay. So we're actually going to have to do it in here. Right. Event, begin play. widget, main, well, tell you what, drag that, BP apparently we can't do that. Right, let's have a look. This is the main menu, right? BP menu. I guess it might not be. Okay. Get widget. Cast to W main menu. Right. This is our first go at this. We might end up changing this. So BP apparently that is not doing the business for us. I'm guessing it's because it's not compiling. Right, so we're basically going to have to go through the widget switcher. And these are all basically screwed. Alright. Should be able to get rid of some of them. Everything involving the widget switcher is going to be knackered, but that's okay. We can sort this out. Okay. And this ends up taking us further and further away from the asset, from the marketplace for this. Right? Because this is all to do with the widget switcher. Now, using that widget switcher is absolutely fine, right? There's nothing wrong with using the widget switcher. It's just that it's all in the code here and we're kind of not using a widget switcher. Now, the fact of the matter is that we, on further thought, we could actually use the widget switcher, right? We could actually use the widget switcher. Right? Because what we could actually do here is make the options panel one thing. Right, I'll show you what I mean in a second. and how we could actually use it in this instance. Alright. And there we go. Right. So, if we go back to, I believe, here, we still can't do that. W main menu. I'm wondering. Right, add breakpoint, right? And it does do something there. Widget main. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it is actually. Cast the W. It's saying none at the moment. Right, all of that's fine. We're not worried about any of that code, right? We're not in the slightest bit interested in any of that. W main menu. Right, what we are interested in here is this BP menu. Okay. Now this might actually get a bit more interesting now. Because we've set this as the menu, right? Now, what we could do here, bear with me on this one. We have our main menu, okay? Now, the interesting part of this is we could actually do this widget switcher, right? We could do this lucid dreams. That is correct, lack of mark. Right, so let's have a look at this, right? In the original, right, this was the main menu, flat, okay? Now what we're trying to do is we're going to split this section right, which will become the left section, okay? And the widget switcher is controlling what is shown here and here, right? Now, if I click on the new game panel, you'll notice that we now show this, right? Because we've switched the widget switcher. Okay, so that becomes that becomes that, and that becomes that. Okay? Lucid Dreams, there is two of us, yes. I'm the programmer, I have a level designer, modeler, blah blah, graphical person, because I'm not very good at graphical stuff. Now, the reason I'm actually doing this is not that I'm actually doing the final menu, okay? The reason I'm doing this is actually to just spring some ideas in my graphical guy, because he'll see this and go, oh, that's interesting, why don't you do that, and that, and then that'll be fine. That's what I'm looking for, right? So what I'm trying to do is split the left hand section up, but feed into the right hand section obviously from this section. So if you press load game, it's going to show up the load game on this side, blah blah blah. We get the 3D effect. We can put a map on the back and have a nice house in the snow or whatever we want to do. But as I said, it's just to make it a bit more visually interesting, etc, etc, right? But the thing I could do here is, what I could do is create a blueprint, a widget called the switcher, okay? And this is where it gets interesting, because what I can do now is go back, close that down, to our original thing. Then what we can do is copy this whole thing, right? And basically, I'm going to delete that. We can paste this right in. Okay? Now that gives us all the functionality. And all we need to do now is transfer the functionality across, right, to our left-hand side to function and apply the changes to the right-hand side. Okay, and all we actually need to do here is delete this main panel, right? Boom. Now we have a basic widget switcher with 1, 2, 3, 4 switches. Okay? And this makes it kinda easier, in fact, right? Because now, in our blueprint, we've got our widget sub. And our widget sub can actually now become the widget switcher. W switcher. Okay? And we can actually set that up as So widget sub is actually going to be, we can forget about all of this for the moment. The widget sub. So if I now go in here, and if I create a variable and I call it main underscore yes, I've used the event dispatcher. I don't think it's not relevant here. To be fair, we can see widget. Can we see widget switcher? We can. Oh, I'd already done that. So get widget. Cast to well, in that case we don't, but we can do that. We can't do that. So actually this isn't the widget switcher itself, right? So this is a W switcher, right? So we cast to W switcher, and our W switcher is a variable here, menu switch, right? So what we can do here is get menu switch, and then we can set this variable right. Save that. Oh. Don't be a silly pumpkin. Right. Okay, so what we're doing is we're setting up the references, right? Because we know this is a widget switcher, right? And it also has all of the stuff that we need. And all that we need to do now is when they hit a button on the main menu buttons, right? All we need to do is transfer that index across to the widget switcher, which is on the right hand side, okay? So in here, we've got our BP menu, right? And funnily enough, what we can do here, I think, don't quote me on this, But let's say we have the button, right? Let's test this, okay? Let's test this. We'll say button quit, okay? So we're going to say on pressed, right? And what we'll funkily do is, as we sort of move these, we'll move these to the left, right? So that we know that we've dealt with them. Okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to here. We're going to create a custom event. And we're going to say index pressed. In fact, we don't even need to say index. We'll not call it index pressed. We'll call it button. Button pressed. Right? And it's going to have an input on it. And the input is going to be the index of the button. Okay? And in that case, it's going to be, let's say, an integer to start with. Right? And we could make this an enum, right? We could do anything here. We can turn this into anything that we want to do, but we'll just make it an index for now, right? And then what we can do is we can say main switcher, and we can say index set active index, right? And that is going to set our widget switcher, right? So in our main menu again, what we're going to do is we are going to get our BP menu, right? And we're going to say button pressed, and just as a test we're going to say 2 for a laugh, right? So we should be cool with that. And I believe it was on quit. Okay. Whatever. Right, what we'll do is add a breakpoint here. And we'll hit that button again. Okay, apparently that wasn't the quit button. Ooh, that's not good. No, that's okay. We'll be sorting that out in a minute. Right, so what we need to do is make sure that this is actually getting set. So drag this out a bit, step over. Ah, we're not setting this. Right, so that's wrong, which is fine, Mistakes shall be made. BP menu widget. No, that's actually the BP menu. Alright, let me work this out here. Ooh, I've went into this one before. And it's a long story because I'm quite an old guy. Right. Let me think about this for a second. Basically, I've been programming for 40 years. Professionally for about 25. No, I think you can relatively say I'm old. Well, lucid dreams. You're quite young to me. You're relatively young to me. Let's just say I'm between 10% and 20% older than you. Right, so I've lost my train of thought. We've got the main widget, right? And BP main okay, so that's this thing, BP menu, right? So BP menu, and actually, you know what? This is a reference to self. Okay, brief history. First job I did was research in a research facility, right? And it was all to do with dispensary, like dispensing drugs, testing drugs, blah blah blah, which was great. I loved it. Visual Basic, SQL, Oracle, that was what we worked with. Crystal reports, got quite good at crystal reports, right? Got quite good at like just off the cuff stuff that is quite unique, because like we were interfacing to electronic scales and stuff like that, and reading them and tearing them and blah 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 blah. Then I was doing commercial stuff for a contracting IT place where we were doing websites, so learned ASP, subcontracted in private, commercial and government stuff, did some government stuff. Then, so that was ASP, SQL Server, did some stuff in Excel for banks, stuff like that. Then what was after that? Went to an insurance company. No, I worked in health, where it was basically doing national health records, which was silly at the time because we didn't have the bandwidth to do it. But anyway, so next thing was insurance, working on a big huge company's website, which was a joke in comparison. That, you know, at the time people had websites where they could connect like 1,000 concurrent users, like this huge, one of the biggest insurance companies in the UK, and I think they were all cheering when they had like about 6 or 7 concurrent users connected. This was seen as some sort of a triumph, right? Which was funny. It didn't last long there because it was, the way they developed was absolutely archaic. It was like you had a task to do, right? And basically they would give you, like, let's say the week before, and it was literally about anything between 10 and 50 lines of code that you would have to write. But basically that was it for the week. So you would finish it on the Monday morning about 10 o'clock, and that was it, because they couldn't test anything. They did like everybody puts all their stuff together on the Friday and they test it on the Friday. So you would sit there for 3 days doing sod all, just waiting to get the code tested to see if it would actually work or not, which was ridiculous. But anyway, then I worked in a hospital. Worked in a hospital for a while. And that was contract. And that was giving like advice to the programmers there, and also doing health records for doctors in like their specific hospital, where it would generate letters and stuff. Yeah, and then I got offered like the data security manager's job there, and at the same time a friend of mine from years back who I worked with in a semiconductor factory, he was in touch with me because they were doing a project that was basically data migration. And because I'd done a lot of SQL stuff, website stuff, everything stuff, he was asking me for advice every other night. And then it got to a point where I just said, look, do you want me to come and work for you? So literally at that point, about 10 days later, I had a choice to make between taking the job at the hospital or just basically up sticks and work on data migration and stuff. So I decided the latter. So that was in manufacturing, so I worked on manufacturing stuff. So I've done stuff manufacturing, private, commercial, government. Basically research. And then during all that time I was interested in computer games and stuff, right from the very outset. And so while I ended up in Mexico, right, and in my spare time I thought, I'll write a game. I wonder if I can write a game. And so I got the Xbox stuff. This was Xbox 360, right? And I had to buy a new graphics card, and I basically wrote a game, and on the Xbox 360, and it went on the Xbox 360 store to prove the fact that I could write a game for the Xbox. And then I kind of left it for a while, and then I kind of started using Unreal Engine because I couldn't be arsed programming, staring at code all day and then coming home and staring at code all night. So by the way, that was in C#, so I learned C# for a laugh. Right? And then basically, as I said, I was drawing these things in Unreal Engine blueprints. I kind of liked that. And that's how I ended up doing Unreal Engine stuff. And then I got laid off because of basically the company managers were complete donuts and ran the company into the ground. And then basically they got rid of all their contractors to get the price down so that they could sell it, right? Not to get the price down per se, but to take the overheads down. So they basically got rid of all their contractors. And that was that. So for 3 years I've been doing this. And I wrote my first game in 4 months. I started it basically in January or February, I can't remember, but 4 months it took me from start to finish in Unreal Engine. It was 4 months from the day I started it till the day it went live on Steam for sale. Right, hopefully that's enough of a history for you. But I'm completely and utterly self-taught, right? I've never been to a, well, it's not true if I say I've never been to a college course, because that's kind of not true. But when you consider it was 40 years ago, and we were using Apple IIe's and BBC's. In fact, was it Apple IIe's or was it an Apple II? I have used both. I think I was on placement somewhere when I was like 15, right? This was 40 years ago. Slightly more, right? And this was when computers were first started really getting used in small businesses and stuff. And the guy that was in this company where I worked for about 12 weeks was into computers. And the first day I started there, I got delivery of an Apple IIe with a huge Winchester disc. Look it up if you don't know what a Winchester disc is. No, my streams aren't really work, it's for like doing some work, but it's for talking to you guys as well, right? And giving you tips and tricks for Unreal Engine if you ask, basically, right? But yeah, he basically, on the first day I got there, got delivery of an Apple IIe and basically plonked it down on my desk and said, yeah, have a go with that. So I just basically got to play about with a brand new Apple IIe, which was like the latest computer, for about 12 weeks. Crashed his Winchester disc a couple of times, which I never admitted to, as you wouldn't. But yeah, fun times. Commodore 64, never had one. Had a Spectrum 48K, Then I had an Amiga 500. Ah, wait a minute. We had an Atari ST. Then I had a Amiga 500. And then I had a Amiga 500 with a 40 gig hard drive, I think it was. Then I had a PC. It was a Pentium 90. And I think it had a gigabyte drive, like, which was about the biggest you could get at that time. Yeah. And round about the time I got the PC was the time I started. The funny thing is, right, when I got jobs doing SQL Server and Oracle, I had never actually seen an SQL Server or Oracle. I'd learned it all kind of dry run it, right? I had I'd done tutorials on it, right? But I'd never actually touched an SQL Server or any kind of SQL server, either Oracle that uses SQL, right? Either Oracle or SQL Server. At that time, round about, you're talking the late 90s, heading towards the Millennium Bug, kind of SQL Server and Oracle were interchangeable. They were basically only slight changes to the SQL and only in the way they were set up. Right, but otherwise they were kind of the same if you were just doing like Visual Basic or whatever it was to pump in as SQL queries or whatever. But yeah, there was that. And I've completely lost track, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and have a cigarette, reset to think of what I'm doing. I think I can plug this straight back in. Then we'll have a look to see if this has got the correct references, and if it has, it might actually start working. But if you're enjoying it, hit like and subscribe. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. We shall have a look at it from there. Check the description for links to Discord, either the game Discord or my personal Discord. Also Patreon, my previous game, the preview to our Kickstarter and our website. Right, I'll be back in a minute. And in the meantime, update on the scores. The soccer, not much to report. It's 0-0 between Bayern PSG, and it's 0-0 between Tottenham and AC Milan. Right, back in a minute. All right, let's get back to this then. If there's anything else you want to know, lucid dreams, don't hesitate to ask. As I said, when I'm doing these streams, it isn't all about, you know, putting this stuff together, although we do like to make a little bit of progress. It's always good fun. But it's just to, as I said, help you guys out, talk to you guys, give you tips on what I know, what I don't know. And with something like Unreal Engine, there's so much to it that you just can't know everything. Right, so in theory, this should work. We always put that caveat on it, in theory, right? So we do that, we step over, that's good. Right,